73,000 people trapped in the Burning Man festival after the heavy rain. Now, you may have heard of this, guys. And at the time that I'm making this video, they're evacuating people. But really, you guys should see this.
Yeah, well, I tell you, all that rain and mud really just making area roads around that festival just virtually impassable. That's why festival organizers are telling those attending to shelter in place. And with more rain in the forecast, it's really just uncertain how long this could go on.
It is soaking wet here at Burning Man. Look at this water.
Hours after the rain came down in the Nevada desert this week, a flood of social media posts from festival goers at this year's Burning Man festival, including from this Bay Area resident searching for a silver lining.
But over here is a double rainbow. Look at that, look at that, look at that.
The pop-up community of Black Rock City, hosts to more than 70,000 people each year during the 9-day event, transformed into a muddy mess, prompting festival organizers to shut things down.
Burning Man, water man, so much water. We are flooded.
This is just scary when you look it up. The festival organizers supposedly provide essential safety infrastructure, including porta potties, ice for sale, and on-site first responders. But in reality, on the ground, the amenities are few and far in between. Burning Man attendees usually just rely on the gear that they've brought themselves. Now, I've heard that even facilities for hand washing and showering are the responsibility of individual camps. And when you're preparing for the event, the festival suggests a long list of gear for each attendee, including food and beverages, an extensive first aid kit, warm clothing, and fire extinguishers. They even advise the bringing of a poop bucket, especially in case rain makes the porta potties inoperable. Specifically, the website recommends a 5-gallon utility bucket with a lid and garbage bag liners. And the list just goes on from there, guys. Portable shower, waterproof protective bags for any electronic gear, a battery or solar powered radio, and warm clothing since temperatures can drop by as much as 50 degrees when the sun goes down. Can you imagine temperature dropping 50 degrees in the same day? But people were still not ready for the very serious rain that they went through. Even people who attended a lot of times before said that despite their prior experience and serious preparations, they still were not ready for this year's intense rain. They said that nobody was really prepared for what they experienced. Typically, it rains and it stops, but it just didn't stop raining this time. And adding to the problem, you just get a lot of people that are just coming to party and they just think it's like a big festival. Now, this is what really gets me worried. No matter how hard you prepare yourself, there are just those people who bring disasters on themselves. You know what I mean? Like, they literally bring the disaster upon themselves. Now, I think that the people who were helpless and trapped in the Burning Man festival are only one example. And I say, okay, go ahead. Have the state of Nevada send in the National Guard to bring them out. Then have the state of Nevada send the ones that they saved the bill for doing so. Maybe just a lesson in responsibility and accountability for oneself, especially since the Burning Man Festival is also all about self-reliance. They say so themselves. I mean, from what I'm hearing, the porta potties are now full, so there are now a minimum of 73,000 people contributing God knows what to the mud. And one of the people there said that a group of them was organizing to strip down naked and run through that mud. Ew. Planes can't land, but can't choppers get some out? Last I heard, a few have successfully walked a very long walk out. I say don't get caught unaware like this, guys. Now, I highly recommend subscribing to the channel and also tapping that notification bell. That way you're always in the know about what's happening to America and, more importantly, how all of these news and headlines could end up affecting your wallet. I mean, the rescue funds for these folks, it has to come from somewhere, right? Most likely more taxpayer money. So yeah, it's a good way to stay informed. And hey, if you want to show your support for the content that we're doing here, go ahead and light up the like button. It'll definitely help to get out more content like this to you and other people who are interested in it. Not to mention, it'll make my day so much. So I appreciate that, you guys. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the exodus that's currently underway from the Burning Man Festival. I mean, like, the name itself, Burning Man, is just inviting all sorts of things and supernatural events, right? Now, at the time of this video, the muddy roads have dried up just enough to allow the festival goers to begin their exodus from the northern Nevada desert. Now, this is after a summer storm that left tens of thousands of partygoers just completely stranded for days at the Burning Man Festival, or Counterculture Festival, I should call it. Now, the festival had been closed to vehicles after more than half an inch of rain fell, causing flooding and foot-deep mud. Event organizers said that they started to let traffic flow out to the main road in the afternoon, even as they continued urging attendees to delay their exit to help ease up the traffic. About 2 hours after the mass departure began, organizers estimated a wait time of about 5 hours. Now I can only imagine what the inside of those cars are going to be looking like. Nevada car wash businesses are probably going to be making a lot of money this week, I gotta say. Now another thing, organizers also asked attendees not to walk out of the Black Rock Desert because 110 miles north of Reno, as others had done throughout the weekend, including celebrity DJ Diplo and comedian Chris Rock. They didn't specify why. The National Weather Service in Reno said that it should stay mostly dry and clear at the festival site for the exit, although some light rain showers could pass through later on. But according to the festival goers, they're a little bit dirty and muddy, but spirits are high. The party's still going on. By the way, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the description down below, right above the links for how to get your online business started. Now, in case you didn't know, the annual gathering, which launched on a San Francisco beach in 1986, it attracts nearly 80,000 artists, musicians, and activists for a mix of wilderness camping and avant-garde performances. And disruptions are a part of the event's recent history. Dust storms forced organizers to temporarily close entrances at the festival back in 2018, and the event was twice canceled altogether during the pandemic. So far, at least one fatality has been reported, but organizers said that the death of a man in his 40s wasn't weather-related. The sheriff of nearby Pershing County said that he was investigating but has not identified the man or a cause of death. Now, Diplo posted a video to Instagram this weekend showing him and Rock riding in the back of a fan's pickup truck. He said that they had walked 6 miles through the mud before hitching a ride. Marjorie Taylor Greene and fellow right-wing zealots blame God for Burning Man's floods. What do y'all think about that? Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene was on an Alex Jones InfoWars show on Sunday night and said that God has a way of making sure everyone knows who God is. She also talked about her very interesting theory about what happened in Burning Man and how it's somehow connected to the leftist agenda. Basically, that the festival's goers were probably being brainwashed that climate change is the cause of all of this. It's the root of all evil, and it's going to destroy the earth. And they're feeling the panic, and that this is the left's new lie that they're going to be putting on to the American people. Also on Sunday night, Senator Mike Lee of Utah took to his account on X, formerly known as Twitter, to imply that the floods were nothing less than God's judgment. On Saturday, Andrew Torba, founder of the far-right social platform Gab, talked about a virus outbreak at Burning Man. Basically, that God unleashed a plague and a flood of rain over the satanic ritual Burning Man in the desert that all of the elites attend. Last but not least, Jeff Clark, a former assistant attorney general indicted in Georgia last month, along with 18 others, including Donald Trump, for an alleged conspiracy to overturn the result of the 2020 presidential election, weighed in with his own moralizing take. He called the festival a neo-pagan ritual, and that he prays that these folks come to the light and realize that the only path is through and to our Lord. Now, me personally, I don't know about God smiting people with weather, but I do definitely think that it definitely has been a rough summer for America, to say the least. And what's even scarier is that experts say next year is probably going to be even worse than this year. You guys remember the dystopian orange skies above New York, right? And just last week, the wildfires of Maui? It's all a pretty clear demonstration of the escalating climate crisis. And experts are warning that the worst is yet to come. It's just a relentless barrage of extreme weather events all throughout the North American continent this summer. The whole time, a third of the U.S. population were under warnings of severe heat and unleashing floods, fire, and smoke upon communities. And this has got to be a record. 15 separate disasters causing at least $1 billion in damages so far this year. The heat has been particularly withering in places like Phoenix, Arizona, which had a record of 31 consecutive days at temperatures above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, while an enormous heat wave across a central swath of the U.S. this week caused schools to be closed in states such as Wisconsin, Colorado, and Iowa, and food banks were shut down in Nebraska. In Miami, which had a record of 46 days in a row with a heat index above 100, 100 degrees. Even the nearby ocean felt like it was boiling with a raging marine heat wave, turning the seawater to a temperature more normally seen in hot tubs. They thought that Florida's coral reef was going to be turned to mush. Experts aren't exactly surprised that this is happening because of long-term warming of the climate system, but they still can't help being shocked by these extremes when we actually see it in reality. Records are not just being broken, they are being shattered by wide margins. And this is definitely an unusual summer, but experts say that these unusual summers will become more and more frequent in the future. Basically, high temperatures, El Nino, and natural variability, they have all combined to create the sort of conditions not seen before by humans. And they say it's like an overloaded camel with an extra bale of hay and then some additional weight on top of that. So let's remember, guys, just in June, smoke from record fires in Canada, an area the size of Greece, has so far burned its vast forests. The smoke billowed south, smothering New York and Washington, D.C. in an orange haze that brought with it the worst air quality in the world. Visibility shrank, asthmatics wheezed, and people reached for masks not worn since the height of the pandemic. In Arizona, it got so hot that the state's specialist burn center was at full capacity from people who had burned themselves just by falling onto the scorched ground. Even the state's cactus population started to collapse in the extreme heat. In Juneau, Alaska, melting glaciers caused a torrent of water to wash buildings away. Meanwhile, Vermont, seen as a safe, temperate haven from such disasters, saw its state capital, Montpelier, resemble a giant swimming pool after disastrous flooding in July. California, typically the scene of drought and ever larger wildfires, they faced the unusual threat of a tropical storm last week, with Hillary, the first storm of its kind to ravage the state in decades, causing record rainfall in Los Angeles, falling trees, and triggering mudslides. Parts of the desert turned into rapids, with Death Valley pummeled by a year's worth of rain in just a day. Just a month after tourists posed by a giant thermometer at the national park that read 128 degrees Fahrenheit, a near world record temperature. The repeated climate-driven disasters have really started to tear at the fabric of American life this year, with state and federal authorities scrambling to deal with displaced people and major insurers deciding to pull out of California and parts of Florida due to the mounting costs of covering homes menaced by fire and by floods. As they said, we just keep seeing these compound disasters. Heat, then fire, and then flood. And the response community is just maxed out. There aren't a lot of additional resources available. I mean, just imagine, this summer could be among the cooler summers this century. It will feel like a remarkably cool summer 30 years from now, even though it feels so extreme right now. Well, I guess these are the good old days that we'll one day look back upon.